Hi and welcome to the Beer Temple. I am Chris Quinn, and today I am going to be talking about what is most likely the greatest truly American beer style in modern history, or maybe ever, I don't know. I'm talking about the American Pale Ale, and I've got three very representative beers for what I think this style originated as and has now become, and a little bit of its history as well. But before I get into that, I don't want to forget, because I keep forgetting to read some of the comments that are submitted to the site. And I talked about this in the past. You know, sometimes these blogs are not perfect, and sometimes, you know, these automated spam filters kick in and they filter out some really great comments that never make it to see the light of day. So I wanted to take some of these comments that were, you know, fraudulently marked as spam, obviously, and just read them to you guys. I get so many of them, I figured maybe I could do one every episode if I can get that ambitious. There's certainly enough. So I'll just say the first one. So, Diablo 3 Video writes, "This is a subject shut to my heart cheers. Exactly where are your speak to facts, however?" So, thanks, Diablo 3 Video. Very interesting. He's writing from an @gmail.com account, but there's two L's in Gmail. So, I guess that's the extra good version of Gmail. So, thank you for that comment. I'll try to have the more speak to fact. But anyway, getting back to the American Pale Ales. So, to understand really where American Pale Ale comes from, you have to understand kind of the history of brewing in America at the time. And I promise I won't go too geeky into this, but I think it is really cool because it really shows you how it ignited everything that is the craft beer boom and everything that we think of as American beer today. So for a while, there was just no beer out there in America except for kind of bland American adjunct lagers. And there were a lot of them out there. There was a lot of regional breweries out there in the 60s and 70s. And also maybe some stale imports from Germany, you know, Lowenbrau, something like that. And maybe if you're very lucky, some of the biggest English breweries. Maybe you could get, well, you could probably get Guinness, and then, which is Irish, but maybe Bass, something like that. So what happened was people started to homebrew. And in fact, in 1979, homebrewing was made legal by Jimmy Carter. And that really started a boom. And what people would do is start to look for things to brew. Well, first of all, ales are much easier to brew at home than lagers. And there wasn't a lot of homebrewing literature. So they're looking for places to brew ales. Well, the English brewed ales, and their brewing books were in English. So as a result, people naturally started to brew a lot of English styles. So you saw a lot of pale ales, bitters, porters, stuff like that. Really not a lot of IPAs though, oddly enough. So what would happen is they would brew these English styles, but they would use American ingredients, namely the hops. And the American hops are very different than English hops. They're much more citrusy and aromatic and kind of big. So what happened was, in 1980, Ken Grossman from Sierra Nevada brewed their first batch. They kind of expanded their home brew into a production facility, and the first beer they ever made was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. And it is considered to be the first American Pale Ale. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a British Pale Ale, but just Americanized, using American ingredients. It's a little beefed up, a little more bitter, more of an American hop character, and a little bit higher in alcohol as well. This comes in at like 5.6. And this beer right here, and others that came about right around the same time, is the reason that we have all these big hoppy beers that people fell in love with, because they just didn't realize beer could taste like that. So because of this, they started making more and more hoppy beers. The next year, they made their Celebration IPA for the first time in 81 or 82, something like that. Then you started getting the bigger IPAs, the black IPAs, you know, double IPAs, imperial IPAs, these American style barley wines. All of that is because of beers like this, and in large part to this beer right here. This is now the #1 selling American Pale Ale in the country. So this is Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. It is also very affordable. It is you know, less than 10 bucks a 6-pack. It's around 9 bucks, $8.99, something like that, at least here in Chicago. And let's see how it's holding up. I mean, this is now, well, what is that? A 32-year-old beer going on. Sierra Nevada out of Chico, California. We've had it on before. We had an older version of the beer. This beer is about 7 weeks old, so still pretty fresh for a pale ale. And like I mentioned before, pale ales, American pale ales, they're going to be lighter in body than IPAs, American style IPAs. It's going to be much more hop forward, very light bodied, but still some body, you know. A little bit of kind of a fruity ale-like quality. This is nice golden orange colored, nice foamy white head. And you are getting that classic Sierra Nevada, to me, orangey nose to it. Hints of grapefruit, but definitely like an orange citrus. You're also, I poured the beer into my upper lip. You also do get some of that malt backbone. This is not a huge out of balance beer. This is a balanced beer that is aggressively hopped using Cascade hops. Really nice. So, you're really even getting more of the hop character on the palate than you are on the nose. Lots of really nice, juicy orange flavors. A good amount of malt, a little bit of fruit in there as well. To me, kind of lending a little bit of that to that orange, almost like marmalade-y quality. Not quite there, but just hints of it from the malt as well. Plays beautifully with the hop character. A good amount of bitterness, although it's so funny how my palate has changed. I can remember drinking this in college when I was underage and being so unused to this beer, thinking it was so bitter that I could not really, I had to choke it down. That was in probably like 95. And it's amazing how now I'm saying mildly bitter. Kind of funny how things have changed. So, very great, excellent beer from Sierra Nevada. I'm going to go 93 for Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Solid beer, a classic, and still, for as old as this beer is almost as old as I am, not this one, it still tastes like a modern American beer. Really great how this beer has held up. So this is where American Pale Ale started. So where has American Pale Ale gone from there? Well, people got these tastes for hops and they wanted more and more and more. They loved them. They loved those American style hops. They didn't want the I just threw the cap into the rinse bucket, which is fine. But they wanted, they didn't want those noble hops, those kind of, you know, earthy, herbal flavors, you know, maybe lemony a little bit. No, they wanted tropics, citrus, stuff like that. Pine, dank, as they say. And I think a beer that really reinvented pale ale for the first time since Sierra Nevada Pale Ale was beers like this one right here. This is Alpha King from Floyds Brewery. one of their most famous beers and one of the beers that really put Three Floyds on the map. I said before in previous shows I was going to try to highlight this brewery more often because I am one of the few who does have access to it just because of my proximity to the brewery. They have very limited distribution, but they have been named, recently for the 5th time in 6 years, the best brewery in the world according to Rate Beer. So I figured I owed it to you guys to kind of highlight some of these beers whenever I could. And I thought this was a really great time to do that. So this is their Alpha King. This is 6%, so really around the same range of alcohol as Sierra Nevada. Alpha King, it's interesting. Considerably darker, more like some of those like autumnal beers that I kind of say they're much more of like kind of a fiery copper color, really nice, crystal clear as well with that nice white head on it, a little bit tan, maybe like an off-white color. Okay, so what has changed from here to here? Huge amounts of dry hopping. Dry hopping is when you add hops after fermentation or during fermentation after the actual brew process. You add them really as the beer is fermenting. You just dump bunches of hops in there for a while, then usually you pull them back out, and it gives a big hop aromatic flavor. Also, late hop additions in the kettle. The later you add them during the brewing process, the more of the hop nose you're going to get from the beer. So that's what you're doing here. Huge amounts of hops. What's also special about this beer is the type of hop. They use an Amarillo hop for dry hopping. It gives you a very distinct citrus pine flavor to it. And it's just absolutely lovely. And really, Three Floyds kind of built their original stable of beers around this Amarillo hop, which has become so popular now that it's really hard to get your hands on Amarillo hops. And it's because of beers like this one using it, profiling it. It was kind of the new cascade. So let's taste this beer. What an awesome smelling beer. Man, what a beer. How much does this beer cost? I'll get into that real quick before I talk about how it tastes. A little bit more expensive. This is like $12 a 6-pack. How old is it? No idea. Three Floyds doesn't date their bottles. It's something that really sucks, but they don't. But I got this the day it hit the shelf. So, and I can tell you, it's fresh. So, big citrus pine. If there was some sort of like a piney citrus fruit, which maybe there is, that is what you're getting here. And you're getting a lot of it. You're also getting some earthy elements, just a tiny bit of wood. Also playing with that orangey quality of the malt as well. Much more bitterness. So the hop from the bitterness and the aromatics and the flavor is much more showcased than here. Not as balanced, yet it still works. It's still delicious. And to me, I think it's much more in tune with the beer geek's palate of today. So, and it's not very easy to just keep throwing hops into a beer and make it hoppier and hoppier. You can have bad pale ales that are hoppier than all get out because it doesn't work. They still have to have enough of that malt to balance it out. Excellent beer here. It's funny. There's something called the Alpha King Challenge that they do every year at the Great American Beer Fest, and it's done by one of the largest hop farm collectives, I think it is, called Hop Union, and Three Floyds, and it's called the Alpha King Challenge, and it goes to whichever beer best exemplifies the use of hops. And it was named after this beer. So, just to give you an idea of where things have come, this is not the hoppiest beer in the world. But when it started in, like, 99, it was considered to be radically out there. Okay, and now it's much more in the mainstream. The mainstream is really bent around this type of beer. I really think that. So I'm going to call this one, you know, the past, although not outdated. The present, although not outdated again. What am I going to give this beer? Do I like it more than Sierra Nevada? Yes, I do. I think it's better. I love this beer. I'm gonna go 95 for the Alpha King. Key to this beer, much more than this beer, is getting it fresh, because that's what that beer is about. Okay, so past, present. Well, what's this then? This is, oh no, did my thing bust? I think there we go. I thought I broke my opener. This is a beer that Floyds again released last year called Zombie Dust. It's another American Pale Ale, 6-packs, same price, same issue with dating, no idea, but you gotta get it fresh. This is a little bit higher in alcohol, 6.2, 6, 5.6. So you're right around half a percentage point between all three. It's about the same. This uses a different type of hop than the Alpha King. This uses Citra, which is now the big it hop. And again, I mean, these guys were one of the first that I kind of remember using Citra. And they only use Citra. So let's look at this. Much more light in color than the Alpha King, more in line with Sierra Nevada, and perhaps even a little bit lighter than Sierra Nevada, but still that nice golden color and a creamy white head to it. Very good looking beer. Okay, so completely different nose from either of these two. This is tropics, completely tropical. It's like a dank, like dripping nectar tropical too. It's pineapple and papaya and mango, but like ripe, ready, like so juicy that they're just gonna like run down your mouth as soon as you eat them. And a hint of pine as well, but it's all tropics here. And this is really like an air freshener beer. I mean, you could just sit and smell on this beer. At least I could. It's kind of mesmerizing. Okay, so the Zombie Dust. Even more about the hops. They've pulled back the malt bill. That's why it's lighter. So more hop aroma, pulling back on the malt, that could be bad, right? It could get out of balance. They found a way not to do it, keeping it still delicious. Huge amounts of hop character. I mean, so much so that it like you can like feel it on your teeth. Like your teeth feel like they're, I don't know, there's like something on them. Sometimes when you get really hoppy beers, you can just like feel it in your teeth. It's very weird, but you get it here. Quite bitter as well, but it's not a harsh bitterness. It kind of creeps up on you. And it's nice. I mean, a lot of times you get kind of like that like daggers in your tongue bitterness. Not here. It's very soft and kind of just gradually you notice it's there. But while you're drinking it, it just goes down very easily. Delicious beer. Is it better than the Alpha King? I don't know. It's hard to say. This beer is so new in its flavor profile and just the aromatics of it and just the type of hopping that I'm very into it. So I'm gonna give it a rating right now, and I'll go one higher. I'm gonna say 96 for this Zombie Dust, where I gave this a 95. Or if I gave this a 96, I'm gonna give it a 97, whatever. I love them both. They're both excellent. But really, I just think you're seeing the progression of where American hopheads' palates are gravitating towards. Bigger, juicier hops, more and more in your face. Are they out of balance? Yes, but in a bad way? No, in a really great way. You can have out of balance or just not very well done hop bombs. This is an exceptionally well done. And I would not be surprised if you start seeing hopped up American pale ales bending towards this now. I really think that Three Floyds has again reinvented the American pale ale. A market segment that is completely oversaturated already. A lot of people, a lot of American breweries make American style pale ales. A lot of now foreign breweries make American style pale ales. And I don't just kind of come along and say, oh wow, these guys just reinvented the style. I really think Zombie Dust is that special. Just the way it is, more so than like, is it the most amazing tasting beer I've ever had? And it's a great beer. But just how these guys manage to take a beer that's been done 1,000,000 times by 1,000,000 people and make it new again after, 30 odd years. So you can tell I'm very geeked out on this subject. I can't wait to drink all 3 of these beers as soon as this is done. And, kind of sit and kind of think on it a little bit more. Hopefully you guys like this show. Let me know what you think are some awesome pale ales or what you thought of this. If you've had Alpha King or Zombie Dust, I'm assuming you guys have had the Sierra Nevada. If you haven't or haven't had it in a while, go back and try it. It's a great beer. It's a classic. And it's still very relevant in today's market, if you ask me. But until then, I have 3 classics of the American pale ale genre to drink. And hopefully you do too.